So now, today, I was actually, I was going through the Kenyan movies on Netflix. And of course, I came across Nairobi Half Life. Yes, it's on Netflix. Um, my question is, because really, if you think about it, my question is this the best movie that Kenyans have ever made? Right? Because I've looked at the entire scope of the movies we've made. But in my opinion, there isn't a better film that we've made. Now, I don't know what that says about us, but that's just my honest opinion. So, this movie was released in 2012. 2012. It was produced by, I think, there was this program that it was funded by the Germans, and there was also Doshewela that was involved, and there was a local company, the Ginger Inc. And one fine day, I think it's also German slash Kenyan, not sure, but there was a program where they would train Kenyan filmmakers on latest technologies. They'd bring mentors who've done international quality stuff, and then there will be a training, and then a movie will come out of that. So there have been a number of movies in this program. One of them, Supermodel, which I was involved in as a cinematographer. There's also Veve, which I was an actor in. Yes, I did act a bit, just a bit. Then there was what? There's others, Lisala. There's a number of movies. I just put a montage here. You can see the number of movies. But the one that stands out the most, in my opinion, is Nairobi Half Life. And in my opinion, I think it's the best movie that we've ever made. Now, the movie is directed by Gitonga, Tosh, David Gitonga. Tosh, I think that's also the project, I believe, that made him as a filmmaker. He's done a couple of movies after that, I think Disconnect 1 and 2, not with as much strength, in my opinion. They are, if you compare the story of Nairobi Half Life, the impact that it had, I think some of those things, let me just check out this. Some of these things that were in that movie, how basically the story is about like a young actor in up country who comes to Nairobi and wants to be an actor and whatnot, but gets embroiled in crime, as it were. Those kind of storylines. It reminds me of a Brazilian movie called City of God. Yeah, City of God. Another fantastic film, which I draw parallels with it because they're similar movies. They're not the same, they're similar movies. And they explore the crime in Nairobi, yani. They explore the corruption, police. In fact, one of the most memorable scenes, if you can go and watch that movie, you remember the scene in the police cells. And this guy is trying to clean the police cells. But it is memorable for its own. And it's an old movie. If you haven't watched it, I mean, shame on you. I can do some spoilers. They're cleaning feces there. Like in the cells, sometimes it's so dirty in there that it was so realistic, and it felt very organic. The story felt very organic. It didn't feel forced. In fact, if you look at especially how they treated the police corruption on that, how they take out thieves or criminals or whatnot, the process there, it actually does give you an insight into how these things are. The story was well written. I think that had 5 writers. Yes, it had 5 writers. Cinematography, I think there was a German person there. No matter. I personally have watched, that's the one movie I've watched at least 4 times, because I felt it. I felt the story, the performances, those actors, Joseph Wairimo, I think that's the movie that made him. Olwenya, the late, was fantastic. Sheiks, Kapienga, radio presenter, actress, all those things. The vampire, never aging actress. Mugami Nthika, I think, is a director now. He's the one who directed Lusala. It's not as good an impact of a story, but he did that. So this movie was a beginning for so many people. And I think that was the movie that convinced me that you can make a powerful Kenyan story and sell locally. You understand? Like, there have been so many movies released after that, not as frequent as we'd like, but there have been so many movies that have been released. But they've not had the same impact, because this movie, it just started off small. Then the one weekend after another, the lines were there, packed. People were lining up to go watch that movie. Word of mouth, by the way, word of mouth is the best indicator of just how good a movie is. Like, you can do your initial marketing, ads, whatnot, media, but if people don't watch the movie and then come back to you, it's like, hey, that movie, you need to go to watch it. That's what really makes movies. And Nairobi Half Life had that in droves. The thing that I'm a bit disappointed, I've tried to find out the numbers, the tickets, actually, how many tickets were sold, because these are important, for us who are trying to make our own movies and whatnot. These are important. But I think they outsold a number of international films during that time. I think it must have made millions. I just don't know how many. I wish they could just tell us. It's important to know these things, producers. So that is what convinced me of that. So now, as we are moving forward, because we've been having issues, okay, like now people would say, oh, that movie was funded by so many people, it had so many resources. But its biggest resource was its script. It was a good script, wholesome, just tight, very nice, something you can get behind. And you see, we are lost with a lot of the movies we make these days, because a lot of the movies, in my opinion, they are trying to recreate that magic. That's why going back to the same tropes of gangster, guns, mtaa, they're going, but they don't understand how the genesis, the character development of this main character, who was played by Joseph Wairimo, that moving from shags, being naive, being conned to come to coming to Nairobi, being conned, finding himself in jail. There was basically the building of this character to a point where you empathized and you follow the person and you want them to win. But currently, people just want to show there was sufferation mazem tan, sufferation, tukachukua magan. But there isn't character development. There aren't interesting stories. It's kind of patchworks, but this felt a bit wholesome, in my opinion. I don't have much to say. It's an old movie. Go and watch it on Netflix, so that you understand what I'm talking about. Sometimes, it's a taste thing. And, movies, sometimes people have different tastes. But I promise you, on this one, I think you can be unanimous. And also go watch City of God. Those two movies will give you an indication of just how good it is to have a good storyline as a base. Everything you build on top of that is an added on. Okay? Otherwise, as usual, subscribe. You can share, cut it up, do anything you wish. And until next time, with another one. Alright? Cheers.